Now, Busisiwe Mkhwebane continues with her testimony at the impeachment inquiry against her today. The suspended public protector resumed the testimony yesterday after her sick leave. The Section 194 inquiry is looking into her fitness to hold office, but Mkhwebane insists that she's being targeted for doing her work. We're joined now by legal analyst Selby Makgotho in studio. Thank you so much, Mr. Makgotho, for your time and for coming to studio. Now, firstly, there was one particular MP involved in this particular inquiry from one of the political parties who'd been asking one question throughout the time that she's been testifying, and he's been saying, has the public protector won a single case? So today, her lawyer, Dalim Bofu, proving only one case. Would you say this has been a good public protector in the almost 7 years that she's been serving?
Well, thank you very much, Masewen. Good afternoon, and thank you for inviting me. Indeed, by the look of things, actually, in particular, when the public protector started giving testimony on the 15th, she has made quite a number of allegations in relation to her conduct, even going to the extent that she's being targeted. People are calling her all sorts of names for doing her work. But you would remember that in 2021 or 2022, somewhere there, when this inquiry was put in place, a total of up to 8 cases could be found that she had been found wanting by the courts in as far as the application of the law is concerned. You would remember the Absa Bank, quite a number of them actually, but I could count up to 8. So it is quite important that in a forum like that, as and when you make any form of allegation, it should be substantiated by the facts and by some form of evidential documentation. So when you say there is only one case, and in the public domain we could find more than one, and we have this inquiry where the now suspended public protector goes on, makes several allegations, that in itself is quite concerning.
And, you know, you mentioned the fact that sometimes courts would find that she erred in her application of the law. And I don't know, I didn't study law, but I'm assuming someone who's an advocate is someone who should be considered in high regard because they went to school a little extra than someone who has the normal law degree, right? But talking about, you know, what the point that you've just made with her saying that she's been labeled all sorts of names, one thing she also said yesterday was that she was accused of being part of factionalism, particularly within the African National Congress. But these are courts, and some of them all the way to the Constitutional Court, who have set her some of her findings aside, you know, when politicians take them on review. So isn't it dangerous that basically she's probably saying that even the courts are playing this factionalism then, if the courts are saying that we're setting aside this particular report?
Well, that is a little bit of a dangerous game to play, because once you cast aspersions on the judiciary or in the executive or any other sphere of government, that is a little bit of a problem. Because, for instance, in the Constitutional Court, some of the reasons given by the justices relating to the conduct, relating to the performance, and the full functionality of the Office of the Public Protector were quite damning. Such that they would even go to the extent of questioning her own understanding of the law. And you would not think that, as you said, she's an advocate, duly admitted, that we would have an instance, for by example, wherein someone's credibility, especially head of a Chapter 9 institution, which, by the way, is a very, very important institution in the constitutional dispensation. And remember, Masewo, this is the very, very first public protector to go through this particular process. So it is quite a precedent-setting type of a hearing, such that, hence I said earlier that it is important that as and when you make allegations, rather back them with facts. You don't go and accuse the media or the judiciary or any other institution of professional jealousy or pushing in a particular narrative without substantiating. So in the absence of any substantive arguments to augment or to supplement those points, it becomes a problem, it becomes a nullity. And remember, already when this committee was put in place, already there was that ad hoc committee led by retired Justice Nkabinde, which already found that there's a prima facie evidence of of incompetency. I'm sorry, not wrongdoing.
Yeah.
And already she's already on the back foot, because now she has she has got a duty now to prove her competency to counter that particular narrative. So I don't think she has made full use of the opportunity, because that is the right legal forum wherein she would then go in and make every effort to clear her name. So what she has done up to now has not been to the satisfaction of members of the public, and such that it is difficult, therefore, to understand where these allegations are coming from in the context of the various adverse court judgments that were granted previously.
And I think that's, you know, the larger part of the contention when it comes to a suspension. But of course, many would also question, as she has, the timing of her suspension. A few days after she announced that she would be investigating the theft on Phala Phala farm, etc. It's understandable why she'd question that. But do you think it's fair on her, or even the public, you know, in this instance, or the inquiry as a whole, to have actually limited the scope of this entire inquiry to reports such as the report into Busasa, and whether or not the president, you know, violated his executive ethics code when he said he didn't know about the 500,000 and the Free State Dairy Farm or Freeda Farm? Do you think it's fair that the scope was limited only to particular reports?
No, I think, in my view, if ever we were that is debatable.
Yeah.
The timing of a suspension is quite debatable. On a daily basis, investigating agencies are investigating quite a number of officials, high-profile executives, and so on and so on. Otherwise, then everybody would be suspended. You'll have the head of the Hawks on suspension, the head of the SIU on suspension, because on a daily basis, investigations are happening. So hence I'm saying it's quite debatable. And I looked at one of the arguments that was advanced actually in one of the court judgments, and it was put as a form of it was just a coincidence. One counsel actually said it was a coincidence. Hence I'm saying it's debatable, because on a daily basis we get people doing investigated and the reports being produced, either for or against, but at the end of the day, the public protector is the head of the Chapter 9 institution, and as a public official, we should be privy to the details relating to the conduct of the office, whether she's doing things correctly or not. At the end of the day, the Section 81 or Section 194 inquiry will make a determination if there is a case, and once that determination has been made, we'll then be in a position. But the evidence of the 27 or so witnesses that have already testified since the commencement of the inquiry itself, their evidence, objectively speaking, has not been in support of the narrative that
even people from our own office.
Even people from the office, including people from the office, that's very, very correct. They were not supportive. They gave a particular character of a public protector who ran an office in a particular way. So that is where the problem is. Hence, I do believe that the evidence is not actually in support of the narrative. And now, because it's now her time to give the testimony, it's difficult for her. I could hear the past few days that she was actually struggling to counter the narrative of the witnesses that have come before, including officials who are in her office.
Yeah, in the office of the PPSA. Thank you so much, Mr. Makgotho, for speaking to us and for coming into studio. We actually asked Mr. Makgotho at the very last minute to just join us very quickly and help us understand what's been happening at that Section 194 inquiry. And Busisiwe Mkhwebane has spent about 8 months so far fighting against her suspension. She's got a little time left before her 7-year tenure lapses.